Wow, this was not a trade I was expecting to be talking about this offseason. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and clearly, Craig Breslow is not afraid to make that big move, right? First, we got Alex Verdugo to the Yankees. Now we got Christopher Allen Sale being traded away for the Red Sox. That's right. Chris Sale is no longer a member of the Boston Red Sox. Just a couple of hours ago, he was traded, and this is one of the more interesting trades we've seen from the Red Sox in a little bit. Certainly worth a conversation. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break down this Chris Sale trade. We're going to talk about the details, where he went, who he was traded for, why the Red Sox were interested in this player that came back, and we're going to be talking about what the loss of Chris Sale means for the Red Sox. Plus, we're going to try and figure out initially whether or not we believe this was a smart move for this team. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start by breaking down the exact trade first before we talk about the individual players a part of it. Just a couple of hours ago, it was originally broke by Jeff Passan, but later retweeted by Alex Spear with more details. And the full trade is the Red Sox are trading Chris Sale, and this part's really important in my opinion, $17 million to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for prospect kind of, rookie kind of, I don't really know which place to put him in middle infielder Vaughn Grissom. Now, right off the bat, I think it's safe to say that this trade was not a salary dump. They weren't looking to get rid of Chris Sale's salary, because if they were, they wouldn't have tried to include the $17 million to get someone like Vaughn Grissom. The Red Sox could have easily traded away Chris Sale, taken on very little of his contract, and gotten little back in return. Instead, they decided to add on that $17 million, which is about 70% of what Chris Sale is going to be getting in 2024. Now, they do have a team option after this season, so maybe some of that is a carryover, and the Braves are planning on extending Chris Sale into the last years of his contract. I'm not entirely sure where that's going to go, but what I do know is that this definitely wasn't a salary dump by the Red Sox. But what this does mean is that the Red Sox clearly wanted this kid, Vaughn Grissom. And one of the reasons for that, Vaughn Grissom is 22 years old, going into his age 23 season, and he already has some successful big league appearances. In 2022, he made his rookie debut and played really well for the Atlanta Braves. In 41 games, he had a .291 average with a .353 on base percentage and a .440 slug in those first 41 games, leading to a .119 OPS plus, or about 19% above league average production. However, there is some concern with Vaughn Grissom, and that is his sophomore campaign. Last year, in a really small sample size, granted, he took a step back in almost every single category. 2023, he only played in 23 games, so again, small sample size, but he had a .280 average with a .313 on base percentage and a much lower .347 slug, good for a .78 OPS plus, or about 22% below league average production. But before we freak out and say, oh, they're barrel scraping, oh, this guy isn't going to be nothing, again, remember, he's only 23 years old. He only has about a half season of major league experience, and he's been doing really well in AAA. In fact, this season in AAA was one of the best seasons of his career in the minor leagues. In 102 games, he had a .330 average with a .419 on base percentage and a .501 slug, good for a .135 WRC plus, or about 35% more productive at the plate than the average hitter in AAA. He's still extremely young, and his potential at the plate could be really impressive. Maybe not a ton of home run potential over his career so far in the minors and majors. The most home runs that he's been able to hit was 11 over the course of an entire season, so he's not exactly a home run hitter, but he does have a lot of contact ability. He's fast, can impact the game on the bases, and again, he's just so young with so much control. There's a lot of potential here with Vaughn Grissom. At one point, Vaughn Grissom was the Atlanta Braves' #1 prospect before he lost his rookie status. At one point, Vaughn Grissom was a highly touted prospect. There's still a ton of potential here with Vaughn Grissom, and it makes sense why the Red Sox were really interested in targeting him, specifically for their current needs on this team. Now, there is one drawback with Vaughn Grissom, and that is the fact that he's not exactly a stellar defender. Again, it's a bit of a small sample size at the major league level. He's only played about about half a season, actually really less, only about 65-ish games at the major league level, but in those 65 games, he has negative 10 defensive runs saved between his time at second base and shortstop. The good news here with that is the fact that Vaughn Grissom isn't going to be brought in to play shortstop for the Red Sox, which is where he really struggles. Of those negative 10 defensive runs saved, 7 of those came at shortstop, while only 3 of them came at second base. He's still a below average defender at second base, and again, a small sample size, but he's much better defensively at second base than he is at shortstop, which is good news for the Boston Red Sox. The other thing that Vaughn Grissom does sort of impactfully with the Red Sox as a whole is he makes some of these players within the Red Sox system that could be playing middle infield a bit more expendable and a bit more tradable. Specifically, I'm talking about guys like Enmanuel Valdez, David Hamilton, Mikey Romero. I know, I'm sorry, the cousin of Mikey Romero watches these videos. I'm sorry, I'm just telling the truth here, but that probably doesn't mean they're going to get rid of Marcelo Meyer anytime soon or anything like that, but it frees up some of these second-tier prospects that the Red Sox have a bit of a logjam of in the minor leagues to be able to flip and turn into something else, which is sort of an interesting impact that Vaughn Grissom could have on the Boston Red Sox. So overall, when we're looking at just the return that the Red Sox got, I like Vaughn Grissom a lot. Yes, he struggled last year, but it was in a really small sample size. Again, I'm highlighting the fact that he's only 23 years old just to prove to you guys that, hey, there's still a ton of opportunity here. He's 23. That's younger than Tristan Casas. That's younger than Brian Bayo, right? He's 3 years younger than Rafael Devers. This is a young kid who already has major league experience with a ton of potential, and if he can give you what he gave the Braves in a larger sample size in 2022, he could be exactly what the Red Sox are looking for. They just need to work on defense with him, which again is still available for him to get better because of his age. So overall, I think the prospect, player, rookie, whatever you want to call him, that the Red Sox got back is really solid. Now, this still does mean that Chris Sale is leaving the Boston Red Sox, and I know personally I've had my issues with Chris Sale over the years. I think every Red Sox fan has, right? You take a look at that contract that he signed in 2019, and since then, there hasn't been a ton of successful moments for Chris Sale, and I understand why the Red Sox did this, but what I will say is that personally, I loved Chris Sale. He was an absolute warrior on the mound. Even when he didn't have his best stuff, he still tried to win games for this team. Chris Sale's the type of guy that put the Red Sox over everything else, and I think over time, when we start to look back at Chris Sale's tenure with the Red Sox, we're going to remember a lot of the good times as opposed to a lot of the bad times, or at the very least, I think we'll think about the good times first and then remember the bad times as well. For the Red Sox, I think getting rid of Chris Sale, while surprising in my opinion, because I didn't think there was going to be anything worth trading for Chris Sale, makes some sense. After the 2024 season, like I mentioned, he does have a team option. It was pretty clear that the Red Sox weren't going to pick that up. It's interesting to me that Chris Sale okayed this trade. Clearly, if he was going to get traded, getting traded to what? The biggest juggernaut in baseball aside from the Los Angeles Dodgers isn't exactly a bad place to go, but I do think this makes some sense for Boston, right? You weren't going to pick up his contract in 2025. You probably weren't going to be relying on him to be your top of the rotation player in 2024 because of the health issues that he had over the last few years. Trading him away for someone who can be a legitimate, everyday, impactful player at the big league level like Vaughn Grissom has the potential to be, could be really successful for this team. So overall, when we're looking at the contract itself, I hate to see Chris Sale go. I met him at Winter Weekend. He's a super nice guy. He's a guy who puts the team above everything else. The Red Sox are definitely going to miss his leadership in the clubhouse. He was a leader amongst pitchers, right? He was a team leader in general. And I think that's sort of going to be an underrated loss for this Red Sox team. We're talking about Chris Sale, but overall, I think the trade could be positive for Boston. Right now, at the bare minimum, it is. Considering what Chris Sale's been able to give you in the last 4-ish years, and considering who Vaughn Grissom could be, I think this could work out exactly for the Red Sox. I honestly think it could work out for the Braves as well. Clearly, the Braves have Orlando Arcia and Ozzie Albies up the middle, and they don't really need Vaughn Grissom to take over at any point. They did need some pitching, and they have a bit of a pitching lab down there that I think is a bit underrated in Major League Baseball. In my opinion, they're going to be able to get Chris Sale to do what the Red Sox simply couldn't get him to do over the last couple of years, because that's just how things go with the Red Sox lately. Either way, way. I think this could work out for both sides. And honestly, I didn't love this trade at first because I didn't like the idea of losing Sale's presence within the clubhouse and within this rotation. But I think it could work out really well for Boston. I think one of the bigger things too about this trade that we need to take note of is that Craig Breslow, like I said in the intro, is flat out not afraid to make that big move, right? He's already traded Alex Verdugo to our rivals. Now he's trading Christopher Allen Sale, a sort of staple in the Red Sox rotation since 2018, over to the Atlanta Braves. This is something that we were sort of missing with Chaim Bloom, which was he wasn't really super creative with his trades. He wasn't able to pull the trigger on these bigger moves that could end up backfiring in the long run for the Red Sox. Craig Breslow clearly is, and I think that could be a really positive sign for things to come for the rest of the offseason, considering, like we talked about over the last couple of weeks, their big moves probably going to have to come via trade. These are good signs that Craig Breslow is confident in his ability to make the right decisions, and I think that's really important for this Red Sox team. But that's just my opinion, so let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think? Do you like this trade? Do you not like this trade? What do you think about Chris Sale going? What do you think about Vaughn Grissom coming in? Let me know all your thoughts on this really surprising move by the Boston Red Sox that sort of came out of nowhere in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.